Hello, my friends. Thank you for coming, and a hearty welcome to all my new subscribers. Has your experience of time changed ever in your life or over the course of your lifetime? Mine has, and I looked up a meditation that I did in 2019. In that meditation, there were two very interesting lines. One was that anywhere in universe there is movement, there are sequential events, or a sequence is happening. And as applied to us, time is our understanding of events in a sequence. So that was one of the interesting things. The other interesting line in there was that, time is like a river, it's flowing, but it never changes its flow. It has a constant and consistent flow. It doesn't expand, it doesn't contract, it doesn't flow any faster, it doesn't flow any slower. So I'm going to integrate those two thoughts as we move along with this little presentation on time. Humans in this density, the human mind, cannot conceive of anything that is not sequential. We learn one piece of information at a time, for the most part. Normal people do. And our memories consist of one event following the other. Now, obviously, on Earth, we measure time with the movement of the stars, our rotation around the sun. There's a very astronomical way that we measure time here. And so they showed me at one point, I don't know if you've ever seen frog eggs encased, they're like in a little cylinder, transparent cylinder, or if you've ever seen octopus babies, they hang in like these tube-like constructions. Or we can think of lights, like Christmas lights that are encased in a tube. Sometimes they are for outside decorating. Okay, so we get the idea of a tube holding individual things. Well, this is what our memory is like, is the events of our life are items inside the tube, but the tube itself is time. Okay, I thought that was fun. They also told me that I've had events in my life where I was not fully self-realized. Well, yeah. I'd call it being in a dissociative state, but those events are recorded in our cells, in our memory body. And so at this point in my life, those events are coming into my conscious mind to be healed or neutralized, as the case may be. And these are just things that I don't remember consciously, but they are coming up unconsciously for me, spontaneously. Okay, so let's get to how we experience time, though, on a subjective level. Because if time is a constant flow, why don't we all experience it the same way? So this was fun. The first thing that they brought up was autism, and that these children or adults are much more similar to the Aboriginal or Indigenous or Native way of understanding time, and the way animals perceive time. because we're really into words and we have to label everything and we have to judge everything. So we're very much into identifying things, and the animals are more into experience. So their past and future they're aware of, but they're not as confined in their focus to the present moment as we are. You know, they certainly can experience all of it. And the indigenous or aboriginal people could foresee or foretell the future very accurately as it was going to exist, and also understood their past history. Excuse me. So in autism, time is more fluid because the reaction of the autistic person may be based on some other experience that is not in the present with them, which can be a little bit confounding and confusing. And they also mentioned that people who don't relate to time the way the people around them do can often be considered mentally handicapped. And yet, because I volunteer at a therapeutic riding program, I know that a lot of these people are actually more present than we are. Okay, so let's look at some of the other ways that time is experienced. You know yourself if you're getting over an illness, recovering from something, that time can move very slowly. And I imagine that somebody in a prison, whether it's a real prison or a really stuck in a state of that they can't change, time may seem very congealed to them. I mean, I know when we were kids, right? When we were in grade school, May was probably the longest month ever. Looking forward to summer. Although I think the kids go to school in June now too. But anyway, that last month of school is like it would never end, right? They did say that people who experience amnesia or coma can lose time. I thought that was really interesting. So I guess that means in the tube, there would be a blank spot. Anyway, let's see, what else did that talk about? It was really fun about our different experiences of time. Oh, this one was interesting. Say you're in a car and you hit a patch of ice and you think you're going to run into a tree or an embankment of some sort. From the time that your car starts to slide till the time that it stops, you may experience time again as a blank or as something that's very compressed. Your experience of time as your car is sliding is definitely different than when you were grocery shopping, right? So we can have all these different experiences of time, and yet time itself does not change. It's only our perception of it that changes. So then, of course, I had to ask about the eternal because I've experienced the eternal briefly, just a few times. And what they said was that if you match the frequency or vibrational frequency of the flow of time, that time ceases to exist, even if it's just for a moment. So the conclusion was the more that we endeavor to be in our present, the more we can slip into a place where time doesn't exist. And maybe that explains why we're all having such well, I think we are having a very odd relationship with time right now. Because if you think about it, in our more natural state, the sun would come up, the sun would go down, we would go to sleep, the sun would come up, the sun would go down, we would go to sleep. But now with artificial light and devices, our sense of time is completely different because it is linked to the natural world. I mean, that's how we measure it, right? They did mention that the animals measure time in the seasons more, in the shifting and changing of, the Earth's relationship to the sun is more how animals relate to time. And we certainly go from holiday to holiday and winter to summer and tornado season to blizzard season, right? I think that the more present I become, the less meaningful time is to me. And I'd love to know whether you have experienced different time flows in your life, even understanding that it's not time that's changing, it's our perception of it. All right. Well, until I see you again, please be well and please be blessed. Thanks for coming.